October 7th, 2023. 4:52 am Eastern. Aldie, Virginia. A fog hangs low across horse country. Split rail fences line the road. McMansions sit on manicured lots behind stone-pillared entrances, the kind of exurban wealth that radiates stability and safety. Loudoun County, one of the wealthiest jurisdictions in the United States. Top-ranked schools. Low crime statistics. The American suburban ideal, rendered in hardy board and slate roofing. 6 black Chevrolet Suburbans idle at the end of a cul-de-sac. Engines running. Headlights killed. Inside the lead vehicle, a supervisory special agent from the FBI's Violent Crimes Against Children International Task Force confirms synchronization with teams staged in 11 other locations across 3 time zones. A secure radio channel connects this quiet Virginia street to operational commands in London, Canberra, Ottawa, and The Hague. The target residence belongs to a software engineer. Employed. No criminal record, active in his homeowners association. His neighbors will later describe him as reserved but pleasant. The kind of man who waves from his driveway. Federal agents know him by different identifiers. Screen names rotated every 72 hours across encrypted platforms. A cryptocurrency wallet address linked to transactions spanning 19 months. A voice captured on recordings that will be played in a federal courtroom. A ranking position within a network that has systematically tortured children across 4 continents. At 4:58 a.m., the order comes. Agents exit vehicles. Boots on asphalt. Formation movement toward the front door. A ram strikes once. The deadbolt surrenders. Inside, they will find 14 electronic devices. 3 encrypted hard drives. A laptop still logged into a Telegram channel with 247 active participants. And on that laptop screen, a live conversation about a 12-year-old girl in the United Kingdom who has been under coordinated coercion for the past 6 weeks. This is the beginning of the end for 764. What is 764? Forget everything you understand about how predator networks operate. Forget the isolated offender. Forget the single dark web forum. Forget the image of a lone criminal in a basement. 764 is something else entirely. Named for a number selected arbitrarily by early participants, carrying no inherent meaning beyond group identification, 764 evolved between 2020 and 2023 into a decentralized, ideologically driven child exploitation movement operating with structural characteristics more commonly associated with international terrorism than conventional sex crimes. The network has no single leader, no server that can be seized to collapse operations. No physical headquarters. It functions as a distributed organism. Cells and subgroups spread across Discord, Telegram, peer-to-peer encrypted platforms, and social media services with hundreds of millions of minor users. Members connect through shared methodology, shared ideology, and a competitive culture of escalation that rewards participants who produce the most extreme content. FBI Assistant Director Michael Nordwall, speaking at a Department of Justice press conference in early 2024, described 764 as representing a fundamental evolution in the threat landscape facing children online. The network, he stated, combines the decentralized resilience of extremist movements with the operational sophistication of organized criminal enterprises and a culture of sadistic escalation unprecedented in our investigative experience. Unprecedented. From a bureau that has investigated online child exploitation for 3 decades. The methodology. 764 members operate from a shared playbook, operational documents circulated internally that codify targeting, grooming, coercion, and escalation techniques with clinical precision. Federal investigators recovered multiple versions of these guides during search warrant executions, each iteration refined based on collective experience. The targeting protocol follows consistent patterns. Members identify vulnerable minors through gaming communities, fan forums, social media platforms, and chat applications frequented by teenagers. Initial contact mimics peer interaction. Complements. Shared interests. Emotional validation. The grooming phase establishes dependency while systematically isolating the child from support networks, friends, family, teachers, anyone who might intervene. Once emotional leverage is established, the trap closes. Initial compromising material is obtained, sometimes through deception, sometimes through manufactured trust. That material becomes the instrument of control. The coercion escalates. But 764's demands extend far beyond sexual exploitation material. This is the critical distinction. The element that separates this network from its predecessors and that caused investigators who have spent careers in this field to describe what they encountered as categorically different from anything previously documented. 764 demands violence. Children coerced into cutting themselves on camera, carving specific words into their flesh, burning their skin with heated objects, ingesting harmful substances while recording, performing acts of self-mutilation with escalating severity, each new demand more extreme than the last. The recordings serve as currency. Status markers. Competitive tokens within the network's internal hierarchy. Members who produce more extreme content from younger victims achieve higher standing. Challenges circulate between cells. Competitions to extract worse material. Leaderboards. In the most severe documented cases that prompted the FBI to offer mandatory psychological services to investigative personnel, children were coerced toward suicide while network members watched via livestream. The unraveling. 2021-2023. The thread that ultimately unraveled 764 was pulled in autumn 2021 when analysts at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children identified anomalous clustering in cyber tipline reports. Victims in different states, Michigan, California, Virginia, Texas, described remarkably similar coercion experiences. The same language patterns in perpetrator communications. The same escalation sequence. The same platform migration tactics designed to evade detection. NCMEC referred the pattern to the FBI's VSAC section. Initial analysis confirmed coordinated activity. A preliminary investigation opened. Homeland Security investigations entered the case in February 2022, providing critical capabilities, international coordination through attach offices in more than 70 countries, advanced cryptocurrency tracing through HSI's Cybercrime Center in Fairfax, and forensic linguistics expertise. Capable of linking anonymous accounts across platforms through writing pattern analysis, the investigation expanded with terrifying speed. Every subpoena returned revealed more. Every device forensically examined exposed additional connections. Every cooperating witness identified members previously unknown to investigators. The network was not contained. It was metastasizing. By mid-2022, the investigation had identified active 764 participants in the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Romania, Germany, France, Brazil, the Philippines, South Africa, India, and Sweden. Members ranged from adults in their 30s and 40s, professionals with careers, clearances, and community standing, to teenagers as young as 15 who had themselves been victimized before being recruited into perpetration. Subgroups operated under distinct identifiers while maintaining ideological and operational connection to the 764 framework. Some cells specialized in initial contact and grooming. Others focused exclusively on coercion and material production. Distribution networks archived and traded content through encrypted channels with rotating access credentials. Technical support members maintained infrastructure, VPN configurations, cryptocurrency tumbling services, encrypted storage solutions. Financial forensics traced more than $350,000 in cryptocurrency transactions between identified network participants over a 20-month analysis window. Bitcoin, Monero, Ethereum. Payments purchased access to specific victims, commissioned particular types of coerced content, or funded operational infrastructure, including server hosting and VPN subscriptions in privacy-favorable jurisdictions. The victim count climbed. 300, 700, 1,500. By the time operational planning for coordinated enforcement began in early 2023, investigators had identified more than 3,000 child victims across participating nations. Thousands of additional victims remained unidentified, visible only as files in seized archives, faces and bodies without names, exploitation documented but origins still unknown. Coordinated strike. The takedown launched in phases beginning October 2023. The Virginia arrest marking one node in a global simultaneous operation requiring 18 months of logistical planning. In the United States, federal arrest teams executed operations across 16 states within a single 4-hour window. Synchronization was non-negotiable. The network's communication infrastructure included deadman protocols, automated alerts triggered by member non-response that would initiate evidence destruction procedures across the organization. Every target had to be reached before any single arrest became known. FBI field offices in Washington, Los Angeles, Detroit, New York, Houston, Portland, Miami, Chicago, and 7 additional cities deployed simultaneously. Special agents executed companion warrants targeting financial infrastructure and technical assets. Internationally, the coordination was unprecedented in scope. The United Kingdom's National Crime Agency executed 12 warrants across England and Wales. Australian Federal Police arrested 7 individuals in coordinated morning raids across New South Wales and Victoria. Europol's European Cybercrime Center coordinated actions in Germany, France, Romania, and Sweden. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police moved in Ontario, British Columbia, and Alberta. Philippine National Police, supported by Manila, executed operations targeting members identified through platform subscriber data. More than 300 investigations opened worldwide in the operational aftermath. Dozens of individuals taken into immediate custody. Devices seized numbering in the thousands. Digital evidence measured in petabytes, requiring dedicated federal server infrastructure solely for cataloging and review. The accused. Federal charging documents filed across multiple judicial districts revealed a cross-section of participants that demolishes simplistic assumptions about who commits these crimes. The Virginia software engineer, a college student in Ann Arbor, Michigan, linked to the coercion of more than 90 identified victims over 11 months. An active duty military service member stationed at a base in the American South. A substitute teacher in Oregon with direct professional access to minors. A 19-year-old in California who began participating at 16, himself a former victim, recruited and radicalized into the perpetrator role through the network's grooming of its own members. One defendant, charged in the Eastern District of Virginia, maintained 6 simultaneous anonymous identities across platforms, each crafted to appeal to different age demographics between 9 and 15. His device forensics revealed 780,000 files. Documented communications showed active coordination with at least 12 other network members in targeting specific children identified through public social media profiles. Charges span the full weight of federal child exploitation statutes, production, distribution, receipt, conspiracy, coercion and enticement, racketeering, and in multiple cases, charges related to the direct instigation of physical violence against minors. Mandatory minimums for production begin at 15 years. Sentencing guidelines in cases involving sadistic conduct, multiple victims, and organizational roles calculate ranges exceeding 40 years. Several defendants face effective natural life sentences. The cost. Victim impact statements filed under seal quantify consequences no prison sentence can address. Permanent physical scarring. Hospitalization for self-inflicted injuries sustained during coerced recordings. Psychiatric institutionalization. School withdrawal. Family dissolution. Suicide attempts, plural, by children not yet old enough for high school. One statement, referenced without identifying details in a government sentencing memorandum, describes a 13-year-old coerced over 9 months into producing more than 250 recordings of escalating self-harm. The child's injuries ultimately required reconstructive surgery. The exploitation ended only when federal investigators identified the child through forensic analysis of background details visible in recovered recordings. 9 months. 250 recordings. Surgical intervention. And the child told no one. Because the network's methodology is designed precisely to ensure silence, shame weaponized as containment. What remains? 764 is fractured. Its most prolific members face decades behind concrete and steel. International cooperation produced accountability at scale previously unachieved. But the architecture persists. The ideology survives in splinter groups operating tonight under new names on the same platforms. Operational playbooks remain accessible. Recruitment continues in spaces where children gather without adequate protection or oversight. NICSMEC processed over 36 million reports of suspected child exploitation material in 2023. The volume grows annually. Platform companies report detecting more content each quarter and acknowledge that detection capabilities capture only a fraction of actual activity, particularly on encrypted services where content is invisible to automated systems by design. The 764 investigation required more than 2 years, hundreds of federal personnel, coordination across 15 nations, and resources measured in tens of millions of taxpayer dollars. It represents a landmark achievement in international law enforcement cooperation. And investigators acknowledge, in the careful, understated language of official statements, that the 3,000 identified victims represent a confirmed floor, not a ceiling. Tonight, on platforms accessible to any child with a smartphone, the next iteration of this threat is already operational. The methodology is documented. The playbook is available. The vulnerable are identifiable with a search query. The apparatus of protection, legislative, technological, institutional, has not matched the evolution of the threat. That gap is measured in children.